Okay, so first of all, good evening to all of you and welcome to day 5 for this bootcamp, data analysis and Python. Okay, so far we have understood about Python. We have understood about some of the library, that is Numpy, right? And what is Numpy and how we can replace Numpy with Python list, right? And in various other sectors and domain we use Numpy. Okay, now the thing happen is that NumPy is totally playing with miracles, totally playing with numbers. Okay, so in data analysis, machine learning, you will be using NumPy. Okay, but the most important sector, but the most important sector where you will be going to use NumPy will be deep learning. Okay, will be deep learning. You know what is deep learning? Anyone knows about deep learning? Anyone? Okay, so deep learning is actually the subset of machine learning. Okay, it comes after machine learning. When you are done with the concept of machine learning, when you have a thorough information about what exactly machine learning is all about, okay, now you want to go to an advanced level. Okay, so there comes a deep learning. Deep learning is actually the replica, to make a replica of human brain. Okay, how exactly a human brain works, so we try to make the replica of human brain so that machine can also have its own brain, by which the decision made by machine will be far more less accurate as compared to your human decision. Okay, so that machine can act like a human, right? When we, whatsoever job we do in our daily life, we do by our brain, right? Our brain instructs us to what to do and what not to, right? Even though if I'm teaching you right now, right, my brain is telling me that what words I have to put into and what do I have to say, right? If my brain stops sending me signal, I would be blank. I don't know what should I say and what I'm going to do, right? Similar way, what we do is when we want to make an advanced model, okay, when we want the machine to go on to the advanced level, so the machine can think of its own and understand each scenario. If you must have heard about Tesla cars, Tesla autonomous cars, or Tesla self-driving cars, right? So you use deep learning into that, where car will going to learn itself. You will going to go on to the autopilot mode and the car will going to take decision for you, where how much speed do I have to acquire in each plane, which lane do I have to go with, where I have to stop, which object or which sign language do I have to follow. This is how a human will going to follow up, right? Exactly the same way your deep learning will going to follow. Okay, let me give you a simple example. Okay, so it will be very easy for you to understand, right? So suppose you are driving a car. Okay, you are driving a car and suddenly in between there comes an animal. Let's suppose there's a dog being placed on that lane. Do you going to stop? Will you gonna stop or not? Come on, tell me. You will going to stop? Yes or no? You are driving and suddenly a dog come into front. You see that, okay, there is a dog in front. You will going to stop your car, right? Now what happened is that this is a decision. This is a decision that you are making. But human decision fluctuates. Okay? Human decision fluctuates from situation to situation. Okay? Because our brain is a complex model. Okay, so we are not redirecting with a one decision in one situation. In every situation, in each situation, our decision changes up. Suppose this is a first example. Okay, you are driving. Okay, in front of you, you saw a animal, that is like suppose dog, and you have to stop. Okay, now if you are giving this to a machine, so how machine will going to capture that? If if someone comes in front of you, you have to stop, right? But machine doesn't know that how human brain works, because human can have multiple decision for a single scenario. Okay, that was the first scenario. Let's take second scenario. You are driving a car and suddenly, and you saw an ant. Okay, suddenly you saw an ant is passing the road. Will you gonna stop? Will you gonna stop? Come on. It's a general question. Will you gonna stop your car for that ant not to get hurt or so on and so forth? Come on, tell me. Obviously not. Obviously not. You will not going to stop, right? Now see, the situation is same. You are driving a car and between you are having an object. In the first scenario, you are stopping your car. In the second scenario, you are not. right? So now if you see, the scenario is exactly the same, but the decision that has been made by a human brain is absolutely different. It's confusing, right? So in when we create a machine, we have to give some commands, right? So if I'm making a model like if and else kind of stuff, okay, what will going to happen? It's just a hypothetical case that it will going to be visible or not. I'm talking about the machine. Okay, now suppose you're driving a car and your machine needs a lot of instruction, because we know machine cannot feel, machine cannot think, right? That's the common thing that we know, right? Machine cannot think or machine cannot feel. That's a major stuff that makes machine different from human, right? Now what happened, you gave a set of instruction to your machine, because machine is totally dependent on human. Whatsoever human will going to give command to the machine, machine will going to follow up, right? So what we do is we make a artificial brain. We study how exactly human brain works. How exactly human brain works, so that it can take multiple decision on the same scenario. Right? So that is the technique of deep learning. Okay, where you create an artificial brain for a machine, so the machine can take decision of its own based on the scenarios, based on their learning curve, okay, based on different neurons and neural networks. So that's a very deeper concept, what is how deep learning works. And there are a lot of segment in that, RNN, CNN, you have NLP in RNN and all that. So there are different segments, but this is just a brief introduction about that. My motive is to tell you that the use of NumPy is humongous in deep learning, because you use deep learning when you have a lot of data, when you have humongous data. When you have a small or limited data, you have to go with machine learning, okay, for better performance and accuracy. Okay, when you have a humongous data or large data, you have to go with deep learning for a better accuracy, for a better you can say better, for a better result. Okay, so in that case we use NumPy, because NumPy will going to help us in each sector, in a lot of sectors. It help us to deal with the large data. It also help us to store large data with a limited space or very small space. And even though it helps us to flatten the matrix as well, from any kind of dimension to one dimension. Okay, that's an advanced concept. Okay, so NumPy is necessary and it can be used in deep learning, any field of data science. Okay, today we're going to start with pandas. So we have talked about a lot of animals, right? We have talked about dog and ants and pandas. Guys, pandas is not an animal, okay? So it's a library. Pandas is a library, okay? So we're going to understand what is pandas, okay? Is the name pandas been inspired by any animal that we have in real life as panda? Or is it something else? Like yesterday we have broken down the segment of NumPy, that is numerical Python, right? So today we're going to understand what is pandas and how pandas is being used, and why panda is crucial. Why panda is crucial when you work with data. Okay, let's start this session. Is it okay? Is it clear to everyone? Shall we start? Yes or no? Come on. Give me a confirmation, please. Awesome. Okay, let's start with pandas. Okay, so at the first glance it looks like that the name has been inspired by some kind of animal, right? Even though when we have first heard about the term as Python, right, the first thing that I have thought, that the name Python has been inspired by some kind of animal or some kind of snake species, right? We have anacondas, we have cobras and all that. So that was my first segment, and everyone, I believe that everyone have thought that Python has been inspired by some kind of snake species. And even though if you see the icon, it is same, right? Similarly, the pandas as well. Okay, if you see the icon of pandas or the logo of the company, you will going to see a bear who will going to struggle to get something and all that. But pandas is also been made up of two words. Okay, so over here this has been created by two words. One is a pan and one is das. Okay, so pan, the full form of pan is panel. full form of pan is panel, okay, and full form of dash, that has been inspired from the word datas. It has been inspired from the word datas. That means panel datas. Panel datas. You are using the panel data, okay, and you are using the acronym or some kind of form as a pan, and then we have dash. So that's how we have came into existence as pandas, okay. Most of the time in interview, someone will going to ask you that is like, suppose they ask you, you know about Python? Yes, I do know about Python. So can you tell me how exactly Python has been created, or how exactly name of this Python has been done, right? So if you say that this is a very basic stuff, right? So you cannot say that the creator Guido van Rossum was was so inspired by the snake, that why they have kept. You cannot say that, right? Same goes with pandas as well. How the name pandas came in is the panel data, okay. So over here, if you see, we are working with data, and this panel, what is a panel, okay? So a panel is a form for data structure. Likewise, we have seen Python's data structure, right? So in pandas as well, you have three data structures. You have three data structures, okay. You have three data structures, okay. One is your series, other one is your data frame, okay, and last one is your panel. Okay. Most of the time when you do your analysis, right, you will be dealing with data frame. Approximately 95% of time you will be dealing with data frame, and after that, like 2 to 3 portion or 3 to 4 percent you will be dealing with series, and it is a very rare condition that you will be dealing with panel, okay. Now panel, series and data, what exactly does this mean? Series means one dimensional data, okay. Series mean to contain one dimensional data. When we say one dimensional data, how many axes I am referring to? For one dimensional data? For one dimensional data, how many axes I am referring to? Come on. One, exactly, I am referring to one axis, right? And when we say two dimension data, that means I am referring to two axes, that is your x and then the y, right? No confusion in this? Yes or no? Perfect. Okay. So series is for one dimensional data. So let me write over here one dimensional data. Okay. Data frame is for two dimensional data. Okay. Because most of the time we receive 2D data. 2D data means a table. 2D data means a table, because a table is having a two-dimensional form. This is your table. Let's suppose this is your database table. This is any of the type of table, right? If this is your table, you will going to see some kind of rows, and you will going to find out some kind of columns. And if you see, this is forming a matrix where we are having two axes, that is the x-axis and then we have the y-axis, right? So series is for one dimensional data, data frame is for two dimensional data, and panel is for more than two dimensional data. More than two-dimensional data. If you're working on more than two-dimensional data, then you have to go with panel. It is a very rare case that we get data into a form of two-dimensional. Okay, most of the time we get data in a form of data frame, and then we have the series. But it is very rare case that we get the data in a form of panel, right? Then if we are not getting data in a panel, then why we are using this panel? Why the company has introduced this panel? The reason being is that they have seen the upcoming scenario. They have seen that as we are evolving, as we are changing, it is a high possibility that in the upcoming time we will be receiving three-dimensional data, four-dimensional data, or many more than that. Okay, so what they have done is it's a marketing scheme also, you can say that, or it's just a logical form as well, you can say that. That means they have seen that if we make one-dimensional data and two-dimensional data, also if we make this Python having the feature of one-dimensional data and two-dimensional data, if in future we start getting three-dimensional data, right? So what will going to happen? Another competitor will going to come up, they will going to introduce their three-dimensional data, so the people will going to shift from pandas to something else that will going to support three-dimensional data, right? So what they have done is they have already provided the feature of more dimensional datas, okay, n-dimensional datas, that it doesn't matter whether in the upcoming time what dimension of data we are going to receive, pandas is there for you. Okay, that's why panel is for n dimensional data, so that's why it's known as panel data. That means panel data, any dimensional data is known as panel data, and it's been shortened form is pandas. Is this clear to everyone? Is this clear to everyone? Yes or no? Is this clear to everyone? Yes or no? Awesome. Okay, let's move forward. Now, since I've already told you that most of the time we work with data frame, okay, so we're going to look how exactly a data frame will going to work out, okay. But before that, one thing you need to know is that pandas is being created and has been built over Numpy, okay. With the help of Numpy, pandas has been created, right? Now just understand one thing, that if you have been created by you are coming from your parents, that means your parents quality, some of your parents quality will be inbuilt in you. Yes or no? You will be inherited with some of your qualities of your parents. Yes or no? Are you getting this? Right? So similar way, pandas has been created and built on the top of Numpy. That means there are Numpy qualities that has been inherited to pandas. And what are these qualities? You can use any function of Numpy in pandas. Okay. Since it has been created on Numpy, pandas is fast. Okay. Since it has been created on Numpy, pandas is fast. You can easily operate using same function. You can easily operate Numpy and pandas with the same function. Okay. You mean panda is a 3D data storing, not a 3D, ND. Instead of 3, replace it with ND. Okay, it could be any dimensional data. Okay, perfect. So since pandas has been built on the top of Numpy, it is fast, okay, and you can easily use all the function that has been possessed by Numpy. So that means you don't need to learn something extra. Like, okay, I have learned about Numpy, now I have to go with pandas, now to learn pandas function and all that. No, if you know Numpy, you can easily go with pandas as well. Okay, now let's start with the series, then we're going to look for the data frame. Okay, and then we are going to see how we can import a data set and we can easily work on a data set. Okay, perfect. So let's move on over here. So pandas also comes handy with your collab. Okay, if it is not been downloaded in your local, then again you need to first download it, pip install pandas. Okay, you can check PyPy for the latest documentation and versions. Okay, since it has already been installed, so I'm going to import pandas as PD. Okay, this PD is an alias. Okay, this PD is an alias. That means it's a shorter version of pandas. Why I'm using this PD only? Why I'm not using any other acronym? Because in the industry we use this PD. Okay, so if suppose in the upcoming time you're facing some issue related to pandas, most of the solution you will going to find out, it will be in term of PD only. Okay, so that's why we use PD. We can change the name, we can change like pan, or we can say pand. Okay, we can do that, but most of the time you will going to find out that we use an alias PD for pandas only. Okay, so let me import one more library known as Numpy as np. Okay, let's run this. Perfect. So now it has been done. Okay, now we are going to create series. We are going to learn about series. We are going to learn about data frame. Okay, now the motive of a series and data frame is to give you a glance of a table, to present the data in a form of table, so that you can easily do that, right? In a database we have table, right? In a database we have table, or all the data that we get is in a form of table, right? So we use this pandas to provide the structure of tables, and data will be present so you can easily process it out. Okay, and why do we use pandas? Because pandas has been called as a data manipulation tool. Okay, pandas has been called as a data manipulation tool. That means it will going to help you out to manipulate the data. Manipulate means to alter or to update something, deletion part, anything part. Okay, now one more thing you need to understand: in the field of data analysis, there are 4 things that you should perform and you should know how to perform. Okay, one is your data exploration. The first step is your data exploration. Okay, another thing is your data manipulation. Okay, another thing is your data cleaning, and one more thing is your data visualization. Okay, data visualization. These 4 are very, very important. Data gathering and all that is the concept of data wrangling. Data wrangling is also is a part of data analysis, right? But you need to understand these 4 is very, very, very crucial in the part of data analysis. That means whenever you get a data, okay, whenever you get a data, you have to do the exploration. You have to explore the data first. Whatsoever information that has been given, you have to explore it. Okay, manipulation, you have to manipulate the data. You have to manipulate the data or update some value, or you want to delete something, you can do that. Data cleaning, guys, data cleaning is very, very crucial among any of these steps, because 70% of the time a data analyst spends on data cleaning, because this factor totally is been dependent. All the other machine learning model, deep learning model totally depend upon the data. Okay, all the factor is which one is faster. You cannot compare Numpy and Pandas. You cannot compare Numpy and Pandas. Numpy is different thing and Pandas is different thing, right? So you cannot compare them. Okay, perfect. Am I going fast? Am I going fast? Do you want me to slow down? Do you guys want me to slow down, or is it good? Is the pace good to all of you? Okay, perfect. Okay, so what happen is that whenever you do, you get a data. Okay, you get a data with you, right? Now when you create a model, when you go on to your machine learning, deep learning, the accuracy, there's a lot of factors that depends, that the accuracy has been depending upon a lot of factors, right? And one factor is the data as well. The data should be accurate. The data should be accurate. Okay, now who will going to determine that how accurate our data is the data analysis process. Okay, now in data analysis process we have 4 part. We have data exploration, data manipulation, data cleaning, and data visualization. Okay, each factor plays a very crucial role, out of which 70% of the time data cleaning is the most hectiest task. Data cleaning is the most hectic start. What exactly means a data cleaning? That means whenever you get a data, you will never going to get a complete data or a predefined data or a good data. Okay, that everything has been sorted out. There is no null values, or there is no different values and all that. So you need to perform data cleaning. You need to perform data cleaning, which will going to consume your 70% of the time. Okay, so that means you need to master yourself in the field of data cleaning. You should try different techniques. You should know different techniques. How can I clean the data? Are you getting this? Are you getting this? And the reason why I'm telling you to concentrate on the data cleaning is because if data is not clean, if your data is not clean, data is not good, data is not accurate, it will going to result to the lower accuracy of your model. It will going to result to your lower accuracy of your model. Either you're going to go with machine learning, deep learning, or whatsoever. Okay, so guys, understand one thing, that doing machine learning, doing deep learning is just a 5-minute task. Okay, doing machine learning, doing deep learning is just a 5-minute task. That's it. But you need to focus all your time on data cleaning. Okay, the more the clean the data is, the more optimized the data is, more effective the data is, more will be the accuracy, higher will be the accuracy, higher will be the chance of your model to give you good prediction. Okay, is this clear? Is this clear to all of you? Yes or no? Okay, perfect. And last thing is your data visualization. Last thing, your data visualization. With data visualization means that when you work in a company, okay, suppose some company give you some data, okay, and then what will going to happen? Company will going to ask you that study this data and tell me what do you find out. That is known as an insight. That is known as an insight. Okay, now you have written some code. Suppose you have written these code. Now you are telling the client that okay, this code, you can understand this code is doing this and so on and so forth, and by this I have got to get a knowledge that this stock will going to increase or this stock will going to decrease and whatsoever. Client will not going to understand anything because client is not a master in coding. Okay, we assume that client is not a master in coding, right? So what you need to do is you need to visualize your data. You need to show your data with the help of some graphs, some plots, some charts and all that. You must have heard about bar chart, you must have heard about pie chart or histogram, right? Or line plot or scatter plot. Okay, so you need to visualize your data, so it will be very easy for anyone with respect to this technical field, so that they can easily understand what exactly is your conclusion and what insight you have found out. Is this clear? Is this clear? Okay, clear? Yeah, you need to install matplotlib and seaborn. That's the library. Okay, if you want to go to your tool for the data visualization, you can refer to either Tableau or you can go with Power BI. Okay, so if you want to go with the tool, it's Tableau and Power BI. If you want to go with library, it's matplotlib and seaborn. So I'm going to give you a suggestion that kindly start with matplotlib and seaborn. At least get exposure what is data visualization and how to perform it. Then go on and expand your knowledge toward data visualization tools or software such as Tableau or Power BI. Okay, let's move on and let's start how we can create a series. Series means a one-dimensional data and it will going to have only one axis. Okay, so I'm going to write over here S and I'm going to use PD. Okay, this is your PD. That means we are using pandas and we are saying, hey pandas, give me some function. Give me some function that that you carry, right? So pandas has a function name as series. Okay, so this is your series. Okay, now over here if you see, you need to give the data, you need to provide the data. Okay, so over here I'm going to provide my data as 1 2 3 4 5 like this. Okay, let me run this, and if I'm going to print this variable S, you will going to find out I have created the series. I have created this series. Okay, on the left hand side this is 0 1 2 3 4. What exactly is this? What is this 0 1 2 3 4? I didn't write anything, I just write 1 2 3 4. It is given over here, but what is this 0 1 2 3 4? Any idea? Any idea? Index. Exactly, it's index. Okay, it's indexing, guys. Okay, and this index is known as a label index. This index is known as a label index. Okay, so we have two kind of index. One is a label index. This is a more deeper knowledge. When we use lock or ilock function, then it will going to make some sense. But now understand that over here I am writing 1 2 3 4, okay, and 5, and we are getting this series. Okay, over here I am only having one axis. Over here I am only having one axis, right? If you want to see, let me create, we have done the numpy. Let's say mat is equals to np dot array 1 2 3 and 4. Okay, now if I'm going to check, the dimension, if I'm going to check the dimension of this data, this is exactly the same data over here. So what will be dimension of the data? What do you think will be the dimension of data? Come on. What will be the dimension of this data? One dimension. Okay. Okay, let's try out this. If you see over here, it's a one-dimensional data. Okay. So if you want to create the same thing, I can go with, I can make this, I can create a series with the help of numpy array as well. Okay, this is how you create a series with the help of list. It's a simple Python list, and this is the way how you can create a series with the help of numpy array. Okay, so let's try whether it's going to work or not. Yes, it did work, and it did work, right? Let's suppose, let me remove this from numpy array. Okay, and let's say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8. Okay, now if I ask you what is the dimension, what dimension do you think is it? What is the dimension? What dimension do you think it is? Come on, what is the dimension of mat? 2 dimension. Okay, let's check this. It's two dimension. It's two dimension, guys. Okay. So now if I'm going to run this command, because mat is now two dimension, right? So if I'm going to run this, you will going to see an error. You will going to see an error, and the error says that data must be of one dimensional. Data must be of one dimensional, whereas you are giving me two dimensional. You are giving me rows and column. You are giving me two axes, whereas I want only one axis. Series wants only one axis. Is it clear to all of you? Is it clear to all of you? Yes or no? Okay. Exactly. Okay. Now, if you want to deal with two dimensional, you have to go with data frame. If you want to work with two dimensional, you have to go to data frame. Okay. So the syntax is same. df is equals to pd. Instead of series, I am going to borrow data frame from pd. Okay. And I'm going to write over here as mat. Okay. So let's run this, and you will going to find out the difference. df. Okay. This is your series. And if you see over here, this is your table, where you have the column name as well, where you have the row name as well, and this is kind of a table if you see, right? So series only will going to allow you to deal with one dimensional data, whereas this data frame will going to help you out to deal with two dimensional data. And most of the time we get two dimensional data that will be in a form of table. Is this clear to all of you? Is it clear to all of you? Yes or no? Okay. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Now let's see how we can work out with series and how we can work out with data. Okay. Now what happens is that your first motive, whenever you try to do some data analysis, okay, you will be getting the data. You will be getting a data. And this data can be of any sources. When we say any sources, it means the data can come from anywhere. It can come from database, okay? It can come from web, okay? It can come from JSON file, it can come from CSV file, it can come from Excel file, it can come from TXT file, or any kind of file. Okay, we cannot say we are always going to get a CSV file. We cannot say. So what happens is, most of the time if you start with data analysis, 95% the tutorial or any kind of notes that you're following, they will be using CSV file. Okay, 95% of the time what will going to happen is that all the tutorials, all the notes that you are referring for data analysis, they will be using CSV file. Okay, so it will going to create an impact in your in you that we will always going to get a CSV file, but it never happen. It never goes in that way. Okay, because sources can be of different path. It can be a database. Some might, if suppose they are doing with SQL, right? They're dealing with database. They are using SQL, so they will going to give you SQL file, some file name and .sql file, right? Then it will be very difficult for you to understand, okay, how can I deal with SQL file? Or they will going to tell you to scrap the data. We don't have data, scrap the data. That is known as a data gathering. Okay, you need to use web scrapping for that. Data can be come from JSON format. JSON format means dictionary format. Okay, and this is your most common CSV and Excel, and then it can be of type, right? Now the first step should be, in the form of data analysis, you need to bring the data. It doesn't matter what source it is coming from. You need to first bring it down to a data frame. You need to first bring it down to a data frame. That means if it's a SQL file, you need to find a way to convert and show it in a form of data frame. If it's a scrapping file, you need to convert it in a form of data frame. It's a JSON, then also data frame. CSV, it's already in a data frame. Excel data frame, so on and so forth. This is your first step. Okay, because data frame will going to help you out to easily deal with the data, and data frame will be required. It will be must for the data analysis. Okay, to you, if you want to perform some operation on data, then Pandas data frame will going to help you out a lot. Okay, is this clear? So is there any file image can be included in that database? When you are including a file, if you are including the URL, then the URL will be there, right? With the help of that URL or the path of the storing, you can see that file. Getting this? Perfect. Now let's see. Once you are done with data frame, once you have created a data frame, like how you will going to create a data frame, let me tell you. Suppose this is our data. Suppose this is our small data. Okay. If you see the extension, it's .csv. It's .csv, right? So we have a lot of function in Pandas data frame where we can easily use the extension of that data. Okay. So let's say df is equals to pd. Okay. Now there is one function known as read underscore. Read underscore. As soon as I have written read underscore, you will going to see a lot of function. Read underscore CSV. That means if your data is in a form of CSV, go with CSV. If your data is in form of Excel, then you have to go with Excel. Similarly, you can see a lot of extension has been given. HTML, JSON, or is it a pickle file or any kind of file. Okay, even though the SQL has been included over here. Where is it? Yeah, SQL has been included over here. Okay, so if you see carefully, the extension of my data is .csv, right? So I need to go with read underscore CSV. Okay, is it clear? Now, if your data is in your local or is in your storage, then you have to give the path. Over here, you need to give the path of your data. Okay, you have to give the path of your data. If suppose you're working in your directory, then the path of the data will be like, suppose you are into C drive, then might be desktop, and then you have created a folder such as, let's suppose, Bootcamp, and you are having a file as data.csv. If the data is in your local, then you have to paste the path over here. Okay, you have to paste the path over here. If the data is on the cloud, if the data is on the web or cloud, what you need to do is copy the address and paste it over here. That's it. Okay, now what will going to happen? This data will going to be reflected in a form of data frame on a table. Now we can easily work out with data. If I write over here df, you will going to see this data has been brought up from this source over here. Now I can easily access this kind of data, and if you see, this is in a form of tabular form. This is your column. Okay, the first column is years experience and second column is salary. Okay, and then you have the indexing over here, then you have the label indexing over here. Is this clear? Is this clear to everyone? Yes or no? Please send the link of file so that we can also test it. Let me drop it over here. Otherwise, I am providing all the links into this collab. Okay, so on the last day of the lecture, you will be getting this entire file. Okay, so this is your file if you want to test it along with me, so you can do that. Perfect. And let me ping this message. Okay, perfect. Now let's play around some and let's see some of the function of pandas. Okay, let's see some function of pandas data frame. Okay, now if you see, it is showing me all the data points. It is showing me all the data points, right? It is starting from 1. Sorry, starting from 1. That means this is 0 is a label index, right? Starting from the first data point. This is known as a data point, guys. Okay, in Python, in pandas or in data analysis, what we do is we call this row as a data points. Okay, we call this row as a data points. Each data is a data points. Okay, and this is your column. This is your column over here. Now if you see, it is presenting me all the data. It is presenting me all the data, right? But you don't want, if you say, I don't want to see all the data. I don't want to see all the data. I want to see the first 5 data. I want to see first 10 data. What you can use, we have a function known as a head function, right? Where is head? Head is at the top. Head is always at the top, right? So from the top, it will going to show you some amount of data, right? So by default, if you are not giving any argument, it will going to show you top 5 data points. Okay, so if I'm going to run this up, you will see it is only showing me top 5 data points. This is the first, second, third, fourth and fifth. Okay, if you say that no, I want to see top 10 data, just write over here 10. It will going to show you top 10 data. If you say that I want to show top 3 data, then it will going to show you top 3 data, right? Similarly, if you want to do the same pattern with the last data from bottom, right? So we have a function known as tail function. tail is always at the bottom, right? Head is always at the top, so from top. Tail is always at the bottom, so from bottom, right? So if you're not giving any argument, it will going to show you last 5 data points. Last 5 data points. See this. These are the last 5 data points, right? If you say that I want to see last 10 data points, then you have to give the argument as 10, and you will going to be presented with last 10 data points, okay? Or you want to see last 3 data points. With the help of this, you can use the last 3 data points. Is it clear? Is it clear to all of you? Yes or no? Okay, perfect. So let's move on further. Now you are already having a data set. You're having a data set. Okay, this is your data set. Okay, this data set is having 2 columns. One is years of experience and salary, right? But what happened that when we get our actual data set, it contains lot of columns. It contains lot of columns, right? So what we are going to do, if you want to check that what are the column names, what are the column name do I have, right? So what you can do is you can use a function dot columns. You can use you can use an attribute as dot columns. When you're going to hit it up, it will going to show you all the column name. It will going to show you all the column name. It is years of experience, okay, and it is your salary, right? Since it is in a form of list, it is in a form of list, so that means I can easily iter over this list. I can easily iter over the list. I can use a for loop, and okay, I can easily alter the list, okay? Even though if I say 0 over here, you will going to see years of experience, because the data was in a form of list, and I know that if I want to see a particular data in a list, I can use the indexing part, right? I can use indexing, or I can use slicing as well. If I'm going to use slicing, it will going to give me the slicing as well. Okay, is this clear? Is this clear? Yes or no? Is this clear? Yes or no? What are the input and output in this data set? What do you mean by the input and output? Do you mean target variable and features? Please clarify that. Okay, perfect. Now, if suppose I have already told you that it is based on Numpy, so that you can use all the function of Numpy as well over here, right? So if I say df.endim, endim is your Numpy function, right? I am using it in Pandas. So if you will going to find out, it is 2 dimension, it is working, right? So they are correlated with each other. They are correlated with each other. Where is that data frame? Yeah. So they are correlated with each other. Okay. If in your system or in your local you don't have, neither you have Pandas or nor Numpy, by installing only one library, the other library will automatically going to get installed. Okay. So if you're installing Pandas, you don't need to install Numpy, because on the installation of Pandas, Numpy will going to install automatically, and vice versa. Okay. So if you see, I am going to use endim, and it is going to tell me the dimension. If you want to see the shape, we have a function known as shape. It will going to give us the number that's 30 and 2. What is this 30? See the data set and tell me what exactly is this 30. What do you think that this 30 is? Anyone? Anyone? What is this 30? Row, exactly, it's the row. Okay, it's the row, because we know that we have 2 dimension. Okay, we have 2 dimension, then we have, obviously we are going to have 2 values. Okay, if we have 2 dimension, we are having 2 values. One is the row, that is 30 rows and 2 columns. Okay, so this signifies that your data set contains 30 rows and 2 columns. Okay, if someone says that, hey, print the amount of rows that you have, then you can use the indexing. It will going to print out 30, that means 30 rows. If you want to print the column, that use the indexing 1, it will going to print the column. If you want to print all the rows and columns, then this is your all the rows and this is the column. Is this clear? Is this clear to all of you? Yes or no? Okay. Okay, yes or no? Perfect. Now you have 2 columns. You have 2 columns, years of experience and salary, right? Now suppose you want to check, whenever I'm going to print df, what is happening? All my columns is been presented. All my columns is been presented, right? Now you say that, no, I don't want all the columns to be presented. I only want to work with salary column. So I want a salary column only to be shown up, right? So what you can do is, you can use dot and then the column name, that is your salary. It will going to work out and it will going to show you all the data, and if you look very closely, you will going to find out whenever you are dealing with one column, it will going to make a series. So isn't this looking like a series? Yes or no? Isn't this looking like a series, right? So this is your series, because a particular single column is a series, okay, and data frame is a collection of series. A data frame is a collection of series. This is what series is. This is a series, okay, and when you collect, or that means more than one series together collectively forms data frame. Now this is one more series. Now don't you think it is now a data frame? You have x-axis and you have y-axis as well, okay. Getting this? Yes or no? Are you guys getting this? Yes or no? You can use log function as well, okay. You can use log and ilog function as well, okay. Perfect. So let's move on. So like this, you are having this salary, okay. All the salary has been presented. Name of the column is salary, and then the d type, that means the data type is float. When we say data type, that means the type of the data that had been stored into this column. If you see all the data is in a form of float, this is a float only. Yes or no? That means something point something, that means we are including a decimal point, and when we include a decimal point, the data become float, and all the data is in the floating format. That's why the data type of the salary is float. Clear? Yes or no? Is this clear to all of you? Yes or no? Okay, perfect. Why it is float 64? See, if you have learned about data structures, you would have understood about what is float 64, what is 8-bit, and there's a story. When you are storing something, you must have heard about in a bit. We use bits, right? 8-bit, 16-bit, 32 bits, 64 bits, and all that, right? So these bits are the storage. That means how many storage you are giving to store that value. Okay. So by default, if you are creating, it is going to store into 64-bit. Okay. That means bit means a storage. Okay. You can store that 64 limit you are having. You can store any form of data over here. Okay. So you need to, if you want to understand more about this, please refer to your data structures. It will going to help you out to understand what is this bit. Okay, bits are the storage. So you can also convert it to float 16-bit. If you feel like that the data will not going to take much of the space, then you can convert. Then you can lower down from 64 to 16 as well. You can come from 16 to 8 as well. Okay, so it's just a storage. Perfect. This 64 is a bit. Okay. Now you have a function known as an info function. Info is the short form as a information. Info function will going to give you all the information about your data frame. Okay, info function will going to give you all the information about the data frame. Okay, so let me show you. We have a function known as info function. Info function will going to show you all the information about your data frame. Now let's see what all information it will going to give us, right? First of all, it is telling that this is a data frame. You are using a data frame from this class. Yes, it is true. Then range index is telling that there are 30 entries. That means how many data points are there? There are 30 data points. Okay, and they are ranging from 0 to 29. We have already understood about range. Okay, so they are ranging from 0 to 29, and in total we have 30 entries. Okay, next, how many columns are there and what are the columns? It will going to present over here, and according to that it will going to give you specification of this. Okay, so it says that you have two columns. The first column is years of experience, second is your salary. Okay, and the d type of this column, that means the data that has been kept into this column is falling or is having the data type as float. Okay, and similarly for the salary as well, right? Now the main thing over here to know is this portion, not null count. 30 not null and 30 not null. This means that there are no null datas. Null datas means null point. Null point means that if suppose you are having a table like this, okay, you are having a data over here, data over here, data over here. You are having a data over here, but you are not having any form of data, and you are having data over here, you are having data over here, you are having data over here, don't have any data over here, right? So what is going to happen? You need to correct it. You need to correct it so that there will be no place. There would be no place where you can find a null value. Okay, if you, and it happens a lot frequently in your raw data. Okay, whenever you get a raw data, it always happens that you will going to get null data in a bulk. Okay, so you need to solve the null data. That is known as a data cleaning. In a data cleaning, you have to solve for null data as well. Okay, so what you need to do is that whenever you get a data, these are some of the factors that you have to look for. What does data cleaning means? You have to first check, is there any null data? Is there any null data in this column? If it's there, then you have to use a lot of approaches. Okay, there are a lot of approaches for cleaning, and it's a humongous topic, so we cannot cover it over here. But you need to form out that how we can clean the data. If suppose data point over here, if all the data in this data point is of different data type, but a wrong data type has been mentioned over here, so you have to correct that up. That means suppose I am having a salary column. And the data that has been kept over here, I know salary can only be in a form of numerical. It can be in a form of numerical, yes or no? Salary will always be in a numerical format, yes or no? The best data type to define salary is numerical, yes or no? Not data type, but best form, right? Perfect. And the best data type to define salary is float, right? The best data type to define salary is float. It is not integer, guys. Okay, it is not integer, it is float, right? Now if I ask you, what is the suitable data type? What is the suitable data type for age? If I want to store age, what will be the suitable data type for a data to be stored in age? Come on, let's see. Integer, exactly, it will be an integer, right? It will not going to be a float. It will always be an integer, right? So what happened is that not an integer. No, you cannot have integer or float. It will always be in a form of integer. Okay, you will not going to hear from anyone about saying I am 4.5 years old, I am 2.0 years old, or I am 9.8 years old. You will never going to heard about from anyone, right? So integer is the best data type to store this kind of form. Now what will going to happen is, suppose you are having a salary and I'm writing over here, salary should be in a form of numerical, right? Now if I write $89.9 or $56.7, $56.3, it is absolutely correct. Then I can say the data type, the D type is over here is float. It could be 64, it could be 32, 16, whatsoever you want to give it, right? But how about if it's like in this format? Now see, I know that data for salary should be in a numerical format, but the data has been given in this format. So the D type will going to change from float to object. Okay. Now if you see very carefully, data is good. Okay, 89.9 can be a salary, yes, but the data type of this column is absolutely wrong. Yes or no? So you need to change it. You need to manipulate this, you need to alter this, you need to update this. So you need to change all the data from a precise data type to a different data type. So you will going to convert all the string value into its numerical format, and now you will going to check what is your data type, and it should be floating value. Okay, it could be anything, 64, 32, and so on and so forth. Okay, and there is one more function known as describe function. Okay, describe function will going to give you statistical information. Okay, describe function will going to give you statistical information. So if you have df dot describe, okay, so let's run this. it will going to give you all the statistical information. If you see, we have how many columns we have 2 columns. One is years of experience and salary. Okay, all these are the statistical information, that how many values are there for this column. They are 30, they are 30. Okay, what is the mean value? This is 5.31, this is 76k. Okay, standard deviation, the what is the minimum value? It is 1.1. This is something 25%, 50%, 75%. It is a quartile, guys. Okay, it's a quartile where 50% is also known as a median. These are the quartiles. This is the first quartile, second quartile, and third quartile. It is a more of a statistical part. Okay, so you should know about statistics on all that. And then what is the maximum value? Okay, so with the help of this function describe, you can easily find out all the statistical information about the data set. Is this clear? Is this clear to everyone? Okay, so there are plenty of things in pandas. Okay, we cannot cover each and everything over here, right? There are different data cleaning techniques, there are different decisioning techniques, that how you will going to take the decision to put on some value. Like suppose you are dealing with a null value, right? Now you have to put some value, but you need to put a accurate value. You cannot put any general value. Okay, you need to put an accurate value. That means if you have like this, yeah, this is your salary, and over here this is your null value. So what you need to do is, you cannot delete this entire column, because if you are going to delete, that means you are deleting the information, you are deleting the data, which we cannot afford to, right? So what you need to do is, you need to fill this void. You need to fill this void with some data, and that data should be more accurate. That data should be nearest to the actual value. So what are those techniques, how we do that? So there are multiple things, right? So you need to look into that. Obviously we cannot cover everything in a just single video, but it was just an introduction, how we use pandas, why we use pandas, and there are some functions, how to deal with the data frame, and how to bring data from any kind of source, either it's in your local or in your cloud or web. You can bring it on your notebook or your any kind of editors, and you can easily cope up with your data frame. Okay, so there are a lot of functions. Again, go to W3S school, you will going to find all the stuffs there, how you can deal with data frame, but it will be very hard to find out data cleaning. So just try to wrangle it out, find it out, and try to apply it up. Okay, is this clear? Is this clear? Perfect. So let me give you attendance link. Is it for day 5? Yes, it is day 5. So this is your attendance. This is your attendance. Okay, so what we are going to do tomorrow we are going to do a small project. Okay, we are going to take a data set. Okay, we're going to find out how exactly we need to take some decision. Okay, and how we have to react with that data set, and how we have to make that data set efficient free. Okay, we are going to take a very small data set that will not going to consume much of our time, but we're going to take a small one, and we're going to try to clean it with some kind of with the help of pandas, and eventually we're going to use, if time permits, we're going to use some concept of matplotlib, how to visualize the data as well. Okay, and that's how we're going to wrap up this bootcamp, and day after tomorrow I will be giving you guys a project. Okay, I'm going to give you a data set, and I'm going to tell you to perform data analysis on that data set. Okay, and that will be the project you need to submit, and you guys already know the drill. You need to submit within a week time, and after that you will be aware of the certification and all that. Okay, so that's all from my end. Thank you so much for joining in. Okay, and yeah, thank you so much for joining in, and have a great time. Let's meet tomorrow. Till then, enjoy yourself. What is the use of MongoDB application? MongoDB is a database. Okay, it's a NoSQL database. It's a kind of database which you can use. MongoDB stores in a JSON format. Okay, so what happens is that in normal MySQL application and all that uses SQL language, you use a tabular format. You use to store the data in a form of tabular form, right? But in MongoDB, it is unstructured data. You can store any form of data, and you don't need to maintain a schema over there. So all the data that you insert is in a form of JSON. So MongoDB is kind of a database for you. Okay. How many days of these classes, sir? This is the third last class. Only 2 classes is left, tomorrow and day after tomorrow, and that's it for this class. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for your time. Have a great time. See you all tomorrow. Till then, take care. Okay. Bye bye. Thank you.